More on this from Capitol Hill, Texas Congressman Louie Gohmert, who sits on the House Judiciary Committee. Hi, Congressman. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you. You bet.
All right, so let's get right into it. Lieutenant Colonel Vindman testifying right now behind closed doors. Leading up to that, though, critics painted the decorated Army officer and Purple Heart recipient as a double agent for Kiev. Some of your GOP colleagues, like Liz Cheney, even speaking out against that. Do you think that's fair to question an active duty military officer's patriotism to his country in this entire impeachment process?
Well, it's not questioning his service any more than it was Mr. Taylor last week. Apparently he served honorably and well, but I know that either one of these guys in the military during that time on active duty, if someone came to them and said, I heard from someone else that something may be true, but I can't, I don't have any first-hand knowledge, but I want to make a big deal out of it, they would have said, well, forget it, get out of here, find me somebody that can give me firsthand. They would not engage in gossip mongering. But here, with the president's office on the line, they have no problem coming in, taking an oath, and testifying to gossip. Second, third, fourth, fifth hand, we don't know.
All right.
That is outrageous. That is outrageous, and it goes to their credibility that they would come in such a proceeding so important and put their anti-Trump feelings in the front and disregard good judgment and become just nothing but pure gossip mongers. That really reflects poorly on all of their service.
And your colleagues, as well as yourself, spoken out against this process. We do know that Nancy Pelosi has teed up that full House vote for Thursday to further the impeachment procedures. They just released that resolution moments ago. It sets the rules for these public hearings and for the release of transcripts, as we know. Do you think that this is going to give Republicans the transparency that they've been calling for?
No, not even close. These depositions they weren't classified. I didn't know until last week. They had this big charade to go down in the skiff. You don't go in the skiff unless something's going to be classified. And then it turns out Adam Schiff would tell each witness, this is unclassified, so if anybody asks a question like Republicans ask you something you don't want to answer, you can just say, oh, it may involve classified information. We didn't get to see them. We didn't get to hear them. And I can tell you, in criminal cases I was involved in the military and in Texas and in federal court, we didn't bring in depositions. The jury was going to make the decision. In this case, that's the full House.
Right.
And that is whether or not charges would be brought. We needed to see and hear the witnesses. We needed to see and hear the cross-examination, and they needed to be forced to answer any question that was asked that was relevant. So this comes in now and say, okay, now we're going to let the Intelligence Committee shift all of their information to judiciary. That does not give it any stamp of approval.
Right.
That is just outrageous. We need to be interviewing every one of those witnesses.
Well, and let me ask you this. President Trump says that it's great that the GOP is coming out against this process, which he calls flawed. But he did say that Republicans should be defending him more on the fact that his call with the Ukrainian president was perfect, as he calls it. He says that there was no quid pro quo. Do you think that it's right for a foreign government to investigate any U.S. citizen?
When you see one Democrat condemn Joe Biden for the clear quid pro quo of saying we're going to take the $1 billion back with me in 6 hours unless they fire the prosecutor, when we see the Democrats condemning Democratic senators for demanding a quid pro quo for money, when we see that kind of outrage from Democrats, then maybe they'll have some credibility. But at this point, it is very clear. 3 years ago, they identified a person they wanted to brand a criminal, and for 3 years they've been looking for some crime that they could wrap around his neck. Why do you think we're not talking about the obstruction or the collusion? Because that was all just a facade. What they're looking for is anything that allowed them to impeach him, and that's not the way we do things in America. We find a crime, and then we look for who may have committed it, not the other way around.
All right. Always good to hear your take on these matters, Congressman. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Thank you. Glad to be with you.
Thank you again. All right.